Hi, this is Analytics, and welcome to another lesson. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts or questions in the comments. Let's get started. In the last two videos, we discussed iteration and aggregation, two very important concepts for your development in Power Query and Power BI. In this video, we are going to discuss grouping, and I would say grouping is nothing but a particular case of aggregation. We will see examples and understand this also very important concept. Imagine you're working with this dataset in Power Query or Power BI, and this is just a small table with information on sales. And this first column, I have the sales ID. So in each row, I have a unique transaction, a unique sale, and they are being identified as sale 1, sale 2, and sale 3, and so on. So this first column is nothing but the column with the identifiers for each transaction. The second column is the product column, and it only shows me what product was sold in each sale. So in sale 1, I sold product A, in sale 2, I sold product B, and so on. And in this example, I only have two products in this company, two products that are being sold. And the last column is the price for each of the products, and you can see that product A sells for 10 and product B sells for 20. And I'm going to run some grouping here. And like I said before, grouping is nothing but an aggregation that is done by groups. So if I take, for example, the products as my groups, in this column, I only have two groups, right? I only have two products. So product A would be one group, product B would be a second group. So grouping is actually aggregating data for each group. And the examples I'm giving here with the slides are exactly the way we're going to work in Power Query or Power BI. So first thing I have to do to run any grouping is to choose the column that contains our groups. So in this case, the column that contains my groups is the product column. Typically, the problem that you have in the real life will determine what column you should pick for grouping. For example, imagine your problem here is you want to know how much you sold in a single day for each product. What is the total sales in this day? So assuming that this table represents all the sales in a single day, how much did you sell in this day for product A and product B? This is my question in the real life, in the real world. And this question is going to determine what are the columns I have to use for grouping. And of course, if I want to know the total sales for product A and for product B, actually the groups I'm interested in are the products. Of course, I'm going to need the data that I have in the product column, which are groups or products A and B. So first off, I have to choose, depending on my real problem, what are the columns that I need that contain the groups that I need. In this case, like I said, we are going to use the product column. Now I have to group up my products, since the products are the groups that I chose according to my problem. So I want to know the sum of all sales for each group. So of course, in my original table, I have product A being sold 4 times, but in my summarized table, I only need to show it once, and then the respective values will be summed up for my summarized table. And the same is going to happen to product B. Of course, I have also 4 sales for product B, but I only have to disclose it once in a single row in my summarized table. And now we get to the second and third steps, which are selecting the column for the operation and what are the operation I'm going to use. In the last video, we saw that I can aggregate data by summing them up or getting an average or a standard deviation. So there are different mathematical operations that I can run for aggregation. And in this case, I'm going to select the column that I'm going to aggregate by groups, and then the operation that I'm going to use for this aggregation. So that's why it's so important to understand the concept of aggregation or summarization. If you still don't understand it, please watch the previous video and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, let's say I am summarizing the price column. Of course, remember my real world problem is I want to calculate the sum of all sales that took place on that day for each group, which in this case are product A and B. So of course, I'm summarizing the sales which are in this price. Actually, maybe this column title price, maybe it's not the best possible. Maybe I could have used total sales right here, but okay, you can understand it. So this is the column I'm going to use for summarization, and then I'm going to select the operation, the mathematical operation that I'm going to use for aggregation. In this case, as I want the total sales for each product, of course, I'm going to use a sum. So I am summarizing the price column with a sum. And summing up all the sales for product A, I will have 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, which equals 40. And now I'm going to do the same for the second group, which is group product B. And product B costs, the sales price is 20, so 20 times 4, it gets me, it equals 80. So now I have my summarized table. But look, when I summarized my original table, I created a second table, which is the summarized or grouped table. But when I create a summarized table, I have the same column, the product column. This is the same. This column here is the same right here, only it's grouped. I mean, I don't have to show A as many times or B as many times as in the original table. I only have to show them once. This is pretty much the same column that is summarized. And now I calculated a new column that didn't exist before. This could be the sum. I could have another one with the average or another one with the maximum or minimum, as we saw in the previous videos. So I can create one or many new summarized columns with the summation or the product or any mathematical operation that I used for aggregating this column right here. And I still have to give it a name. And in this case, I'm going to call it total. So it's a very simple name. And I'm giving you these steps because these are the very same steps we're going to implement in Power Query or Power BI. For this example, I'm going to use the same dataset that we used in the last two videos. If you haven't watched those videos, please go back so you can fully understand the dataset and the concepts of iteration and aggregation in Power Query and Power BI. This table is just the same. It has the same kind of information than the table we used in the slides just now. It only is a more complete table, but look, we have a column for the sales key, which is a unique identifier for each sale. And I'm going to use this column right here, which is the sales amount. And in sales amount, I want to convert it to decimal numbers like we did, as we did in the previous videos. And suppose I want to group my data. I want to know what is the total sales amount for each store during this entire period. I have in my store name, I have stores in America, my America online store, Asia online store, Europe online store. So I have 3 stores here. And suppose you want to calculate the total sales for each store. So what do you actually want? We want to create a summarized table or grouped table with the total sales for each store. We know we have 3 stores, and I'm going to implement this grouping in Power Query. It's very easy. And as you saw in the example with the slides, we are going to create a new summarized table. And I'm going to do it in Power Query. It's so easy to do. All you have to do is click the Transform tab. If you are somewhere else, just click the Transform tab. And look, there's a specific button for that, Group By. Group By. I'm going to click it. And the fields that I have here in this box are the very same steps that we took in the slides. So first of all, I have to select, remember the first step, I have to select the column in which my groups are. So the column in which my groups are is this column, store names. So I'm grouping my sales for each store, and my stores are in the store name column. I have the store name column selected here because I already had the same column selected before I clicked group by. So if, for example, I had another table, another column selected, anyone, and then if I click group by, so the one that is selected right here is the same one that's going to appear here, sales quantity, but actually this is not the one I want, so I can change it anytime. I just have to select the one I want here, and I want the store name column. And the second and third steps, we had to choose what is the mathematical operation that I want to run. And in this case, I want the operation that I want. Look, the operation I want is a sum. And I have to choose the column that I'm going to use for the sum, the column that I'm going to aggregate or summarize. And in this case, it is the sales amount. And the last step is giving the new column a name. And I'm going to call it summarized data. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. So the very same steps are: first step, selecting the column that I want, in which your groups are, then selecting what is the operation you're going to run, what is the column in which on which you're going to run this operation, and then given the new summarized column a name. That's it, and I'm going to click OK, and now I have a summarized table. Remember, whenever we run some kind of grouping, we're going to create a new summarized table. If I click the previous step, I'm going to see my entire table, the original table, and then the grouping step gave me a new summarized table. And the result I got is exactly what I wanted. It answers exactly the question that I had, and the question was, what are my total sales per store? And if I want to change this grouping, all I have to do, I don't have to start over. All I have to do is click the little gear icon, and then I can edit my grouping and select. You don't only have to. Let me show you the previous step. So suppose you want to group your data not only by store name, but also by product name. Can we group up data with more than one group? Can we have subgroups or subgroups? Of course we can. Only instead of choosing just one column for grouping, I can select more than one. And the same goes for the summarized data, the summarized column. I can have more than one summarized column. So let me change this unit price column. I'm going to change it to select the decimal. I'm going to make it decimal numbers. And okay, so let's do a more complex grouping here. I'm going to change my last step, the grouped rows step. I'm going to click this little icon, and now I can change the settings of my grouping. And as I want more than one grouping, as I want to select more than one column for grouping, I'm going to select the advanced option. And in advanced, I can add new groups, new columns with the groups that I want to return. So I can add a new group, and again, the same step. First, I have to select the additional column in which are my additional groups, and I'm going to select, in this case, the product name. Now I'll have my data summarized by store name and product name, and I can also create new aggregated columns. Let's create two new aggregated columns, and I'm going to call this one average price. And what is the operation that I want? Imagine I want to calculate the average of the unit price. And in my third column, I want to find the maximum price, and I'm going to select the maximum value of the unit price column. So that's very, very easy. All I have to do is click OK, and now my summarized table is created instantly. This is grouping. This concept stems from the concept of aggregation. As you can see, we were nothing but aggregating data and using different mathematical operations to aggregate this data. Only instead of aggregating the data throughout the entire column, I am doing this aggregation or summarization by each of the groups I selected. And this is really, really important when we're working with Power Query and Power BI. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and share this content and subscribe to our channel. This is going to help us reach more people and get more relevance. So see you in the next video.